Nate Ryan on NBC Sports on your left again. The end of your career is not just like the end of your career. It's also sort of an end of an era for NASCAR. Generationally, there have been 6 champions who were born in the 1970s. Gordon, Johnson, Stewart, Kenseth, Kurt Busch, and yourself, and you're the last one to hang it up. So, and not just those guys, but Carl Edwards, Dale Jr., you mentioned, Ryan Newman. There were a lot of great drivers from the 1970s, from like the Gen X sort of generation. So I'm wondering, like, have you thought about that at all, or is there any sort of sense of pride about what you and your contemporaries, your peers, have accomplished as it comes to an end?
Well, I think when you name that list, it's a group of guys that came in at a great time, because you got to race against the guys that were just ending their careers in the early 2000s, late 90s. And then you got to go through a new generation of guys that you came up with, and I guess I don't know how many there are, but there's a number of us that went through almost 20 years of it together, and you really blocked out a whole generation in between for the most part, just because you had so many guys that were so good and able to be successful. But we also came through at a time when the sport was just out of control with money from a sponsorship standpoint, and all the team owners were looking for the next great driver. So they started their Busch Series teams, and everybody had a Busch Series team. And so we were at this fortunate time when the Cup Series team owners were just looking for anybody that might have a chance, and you could find funding to fund that program. With all you had to do is just say you were starting a program, and you'd have 2 or 3 opportunities for sponsorship. So, and that's how it was really as you went through. For me, when we decided that we were going to go Cup racing, we had 3 sponsors, and we had to decide which one we wanted, and that was at a very unique time in the sport. And I think I'm very fortunate to have raced in the previous generation, to come through with the guys that I did, and now really for me, I'm in a fortunate spot to be able to see the whole next generation starting, and you have some really young guys that are in their early 30s, late 20s, mid 20s. And now I get to take that and have raced against most all those guys that are going to be here for a long time and go up in the TV booth, and I already know them all and have raced against them and have a relationship with them. And so it's just we came through my generation of racers came through at a very unique time that was just really fortunate to get to race against the previous generation, my generation, and the future generation. To see all those changes in cars and tires and racers and styles of racing, and we went from trial and error to simulators and simulation and all iRacing and everything that comes with the sport now. And when we did that before, you just go to the racetrack and you'd cut the cross member out and you'd drill holes in the frame, and you just tested and tested and tested and tested at the track, and now you don't do it that way at all. So, but that's one thing I've always, whether it was my race teams or the race team that I have now, it's evolve or die, right? Because this is an evolution process that is never going to end, because there are engineers and smart people, and you always have to keep your head up and your eyes open, or you're going to miss something and get left behind. And, I think with some of the generation of guys that were going out when we were coming in, they were very stuck on, these are the springs that we need to run in the car. You can't do this and you can't do that. And they quickly got left behind. And to me, I remember that like it was yesterday. And you look back at those guys and you're like, man, if they would have just kind of just followed the evolution of the sport and let it come to them, they'd have still driven it fine. They just wouldn't have known what springs were in the car and what shocks were on the car and where it was going to go next, and whether it was high or low. It still went around the racetrack. It just went around the racetrack faster. But that's what we do. And if you the days of knowing everything that's in your car and knowing how it works, that you almost need to forget that, because you're just interrupting the process of all the smart people that work on the car to make it go faster and find something new and make a better part or piece. And so there's just a lot of things that have changed, and I love that part of it. I love the evolution of watching it change, and that's always been something that I've taken pride in being able to be a part of that change and still be successful at what we did. The next generation is, I think it's just a different. I think it is. And I think with I think guys like Joey Logano are going to be great leaders. They already are. You see some of the younger guys start to speak up in the meetings, and I can't wait to continue to be a part of those meetings as we go forward and listen to it evolve and grow and change and see who the new leaders become and because that's the process, and that's how it works. And there's a lot of really good racers, and now I think you'll see guys evolve into leaders that you might not have expected, and so yeah, I mean that'll be fun for everybody to watch and learn. But you've also got some guys that have been here for a while that'll do a good job.